like Juvie, paint and powder on the roadway. With my friends and we exploring. This soca feels so sweet. My body temperature full of heat. And we chipping down the road. And we not going home. I'm lost in Trinbago. Oh na 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 na. Oh na 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 na. Oh na na. Oh na na. I'm lost in Trinbago. Trinbago. I'm lost in Trinbago. Last night on the avenue, enjoying myself. Lost in Carnival, and I can't live on again. Hey, beautiful vibes, I'm so alive again. Lost in Carnival, and I'm ready to hit again.
Mr. Gary Mahabir, right? Gary, how are you going?
All right, Neil. So I sent the team to cover you there, and we're going to move forward with you with all the things that you need down there, you know? So if you want to say a few words before we close out.
Okay, well, we spent the last 2 hours on the street with the constituents. Major problems is drainage and roads, and of course, some of them want street lights. So we listen. A lot of it falls on the Ministry of Works and Drainage, and we're going to work with the ministry and try our best to see how best we could fix the problems in the area. Of course, some people mentioned crime. I think one of the residents was held up at gunpoint. So trying to get more TTPS presence in the area is also a major issue.
All right, Dr. Gosai, thank you very much. You know, we have our engineer will be working with you on the residents moving forward. So as soon as Ken Darshan gets back there, he's going to show you some designs with the drainage and all that stuff too.
I appreciate that, Gary. Thanks a lot.
All right, so we know we got you back. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Gosai.
Thank you so much as well. Thanks for having your team here. They were quite professional.
Thank you very much. Well, we get to support you all the way.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right,
you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, let me see you, Marissa. Marissa, say a few words before you go.
Well, thank you for having us on this platform. You know, it was nice to come on this platform and see the communities and meet the people within the community and hear the problem of drainage, of the crime, the street lights. And, you know, we just want to get on the ground now and just start and work on these problems and find a solution and just build back up the community. And I want to thank you all for, you know, streaming in live from the USA and all over and looking at us and hearing the cries of the people. So it's been very, very good to actually get this coverage. And, you know, community response development team is here to find the solutions, and let's get the ball rolling with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. So get all the numbers and make all the decisions with our MP there moving forward, where you guys can come out again and support him. And you know, we'll put everything together to give him all the necessary help. All right? So thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Mr. Gary.
So welcome everyone back to Yellow Zico program on UNC USA. Fortunate we have Chan Pare and her husband. Can you remind me of your name, sir?
Rajan.
Rajan, right, Rajan. And tonight we have Mr. Vinci Ram, a well-known established banker and economist who has been with us and advising us on what's the best way forward for Trinidad and Tobago. We have Dr. Ashwin Maharaj, out of Queens, New York, and obviously our civil engineer here, Mr. Ken Dalchan, who's well known to everyone. So I want to welcome you back to Yellow Zico program. And Ved, I want to start with you in reference to this 1 billion US that's it's been allocated to Trinidad and Tobago to restart, revamp our refinery. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it's a very good development. People are showing interest in the refinery after having closed in, I think, 2018, 2019. If you recall, the level of interest at that time was very, very poor because when they invited bids, only three companies out of the initial 70 who were interested, only three actually made some bids. One, of course, was the Patriotic, which was the OWTU company. Um, the second one bid $7 million over 15 years, which was a pittance, which was nothing. And the third one said, "Give me the refinery, and when I make profit, I'll give you dividends." So so I think the level of interest has changed since then. So I think it's very good. I think as well that the Minister of Energy had discussions with people in India, and at the first task really with
I'm getting a
regards to
feedback from. Sorry, I'm getting feedback from somebody. I don't know.
uh, I hope it's not me because I wouldn't
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how
Guys,
to
can you
fix it.
mute your mic until you're ready to speak? Okay, go ahead, Wade.
Yeah, I said things have changed since 2018, and there's a
Wade,
very
I think it's your end. There's some like something kind of echoing. Yeah.
This is the first time I'm wondering. I'm muted. If I muted, you wouldn't hear me.
No, 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 no. Just kind of maybe adjust yourself there a little bit. But go ahead.
All right. So,
I'm hearing you good now. Go ahead.
oh, great, great, great. So I think the level of interest is a lot greater this time around. In addition to that, I think there's a bit of yeah, I getting a feedback as well.
Yeah, it's something to do with your device there.
Mm, I haven't changed anything um,
Maybe
recently.
that's your
So,
position. I don't know.
oh boy, are you still? Can you
Oh
hear
yeah,
me? Yep.
it depends on how you move. So right there, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Well,
Oh, still, yeah. Oh boy.
you're still getting a feedback.
How about you log out and come back in?
I can try that. Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
So Ken, can you pick up here for a little bit? And we could talk about what
Well,
transpired yesterday together with Chan and Marissa and the community response team down there in Chaguanas West with Dr. Neil Gosam.
let me say good night to everyone, all the viewers. And yesterday was, I mean, to say it's a problem we've been hearing throughout almost every constituency from Sandy Grande um, to Woodland, right? And it's flooding. And Veda and I spoke about flooding, and we tied it into some of the other ministries, right, where there's an overlap. Ministry of Agriculture, um, Tourism, um, Ministry of Works, local government, right? Every one of these ministries are dealing with flooding. And we have to now look at the food bill. Vade made a very good point with regards to our food import bill, right? 94% of it is imported. And if there was to be a crunch with the foreign exchange, then we could run into some serious problems. Now, would the farmers be able, or would they have the capacity to offset this? And the answer is no. So it puts us at an elevated risk there. Um, I'm not sure if Vade is back on.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, Vade, I'm just recapping on what we discussed with the
Yes, of
flooding,
course, of
right?
course.
Because it will tie back into the walkabout yesterday. So, flooding affects almost every citizen, from farmers to residents, and with climate change, these problems are only going to get worse over time. So, Ved, I'm gonna pause there, and we're gonna come back to you.
Yeah,
Ved,
I
yeah,
hope, I hope there's no echo.
we still hear a little echo there, Ved, but
Oh
just try
my,
and see how you can pick it up. Maybe adjust yourself or something.
Yeah, I could shift around a bit. Let me see. Is it better or worse?
I just muted my mic and I'm still hearing the echo in the background.
Yeah, this is what
Maybe it's the range or the distance from your phone or your computer or something.
but I'm just using the phone. Is it better there?
Yes, a little worse there.
A little worse. Is it better there?
Um,
I'm just adjusting the distance.
hmm. I
Yeah,
wonder
hello?
if yes, go ahead.
Are you guys still getting the echo?
We still getting the echo, Gary. Wait,
Hey?
try it again there.
Yeah, hello? Is it
Yeah,
Yeah, lost
yeah,
complete communication with him. Yeah. Can you say something?
yeah. Go ahead, Gary. You hear me?
yeah, I could hear you again.
Yeah, Gary said he lost communication. Gary?
Oh,
Yeah. Rajan and Chan, could you just let Marissa know that you guys are in? She was asking the question if she said that you guys were waiting to get into the studio.
Oh yeah,
And,
yes.
and,
Okay.
and
Well,
ask her if she wants to join also, she could join in.
well,
Yeah, wait. But it's a serious problem and it's going to get worse, right? This climate crisis that we're in, um, it's still evolving.
that's
And it
correct.
scares it scares me sometime as an engineer to know that we are dealing with some storms. We're trying to, there's an old design philosophy, right?
But
Approach.
hold for a second here. The thing what I'm picking up here is the mama guy from the PNM, the negligence from the PNM that really have us in a worse of a situation. Now we understand there a global warming and things are happening in the wrong. But if they were doing the right things in the first place, I mean, look what happened in the basics. They not even have done the basics. Now I
Gary,
saw a minister in the parliament. I caught the end of the parliament a little bit today, and Diego Martin West was speaking like the entire country roads went bad between April 28th and February 27th. In
right.
those 2 short months.
I
So
saw,
it's the hypocrisy that we're seeing here with the handling of our infrastructure and things like that. So we have a lot to correct, and
well,
this is
well,
where we're going to
Gary,
need you. This is where we're going
Gary,
to need your help.
since you start to talk about that, right? And I saw a piece of that parliament video there, right? And they were attacking our Honorable Minister Jaylene John on our piece of road that failed. And the minister said that that's a temporary fix and they're trying to resolve it given the fact that there was a carnival and so forth, right? Now,
Right,
here's
right. But
something.
the road infrastructure was being addressed. But they're acting like this whole thing happened just like in a few months. Go ahead,
Right,
go ahead.
and the
Yeah.
PNM has nothing to talk about. They're going to grasp for straws. But if you want to talk about something and talk about a failure, right? The PNM during their last 10 years, they tried to fix a flooding problem in Port of Spain under the minister Redo Rohanson, right? I think I posted the video there, Gary. I don't know if you saw the
Yeah,
video.
I'm gonna load it.
You
I'm
could load
gonna
that.
load it. Go ahead. Go ahead
Please,
and talk.
please
I'm
load
gonna
that
load it.
video. Please load that video. Now, when the PNM want to talk about failure, they are the definition of failure, right? They try to fix a flooding problem in South Key, right? It floods there. I mean, if it drizzles there, it floods. So what they
Look
did,
why the
they
flooding
implement
taking place in Port of Spain. The whole of South Key. Look at here. Look at this. And this is the pump here by the lighthouse, right? This is the lighthouse here, Port of Spain right there. Look at the water in here. Like the drain for Port of Spain where the water supposed to come down, right? And watch how the water falling out. You see how it's falling out wholly? Because to the back of them iron body is only rubbish. And the rubbish holding back the water. So the water is slipping through little spaces. The water not flowing out straight. Only rubbish. Look at the water. And what's there? And that's what's right about it. See what's going on there? You better start work. What you hear about this? Them big pump they're supposed to be pulling that water there and pushing it out. And the tide low. So how it is the city is flooding. Total failure.
Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
Now, this thing. Yes, so I'm glad you posted that video. Now, let's be very clear here. That project was under the PNM government, not the current government, right? That was done under Minister of Works and Transport Rohan Sinanan, under a PNM government. Again, they want to talk about a little, some road work in Caranage there. Let's talk about this problem. Why didn't the PNM or anybody talk about this failure here? This is a monumental failure. You're trying to fix a flooding problem in South Key, and it just worsened it, right? I mean, that's an engineering disaster and a waste of taxpayers' money, because something we don't often hear, a waste of taxpayers' funds, right? How many millions was spent here to exacerbate the problem in South Key, right? Why don't the PNN come and make a comment about this? You know, it's alleged that there's like 20, I think 23 or $24 million was spent there. You know, you guys
And
can hear me?
the pump itself don't seem to be working.
Gary, there's a low tide and the whole of South Key is flooded, right? During a low tide. The problem there is there's garbage constriction. South Key is a place, there's a lot of foot traffic, there's a lot of food vendors, people are eating food, there's garbage moving around in the storm drains, right? And all of that is flowing straight down. With that first drench, is coming straight down to that lighthouse area there. Now, what they implemented there is a 2D trash rack. And that is a big problem. That is something we should stay away from, right? In fact, that will cause a constriction. And that is exactly what we saw there. The flow is being constricted because of the garbage clogging up the grating. And it's causing the water levels to rise in South Key, flooding the entire place. But again, I want to come back to one point. Millions was spent. Millions. And it's an epic failure there. Again, under the PNM government. Implemented under the PNM government, right? They're trying to mitigate flooding and they're making the problem even worse. So yeah, so let them continue to talk, and in the opposition there, we have a answer for everything, and we're not going to just talk about it. We'll highlight projects that they did, and the amount of money they spent and wasted, taxpayers' funds. So yeah, let them keep talking. We have the answer. We will respond accordingly. But Ved, coming back to the flooding, right?
Yes.
We the farmers from Toko to Sandy Grande to Central, right? And also the residents, they've been affected. There's a human impact, and we have to also address that. People are getting flooded away, their homes, their appliances, and just like the farmers, they're waiting on some public assistance from the government, right? We need viable solutions. Solutions. Um, we need to fortify our communities, and we have a community group here, right, which is the community response development team, and they were on the ground yesterday.
Deployment team. Yeah.
Deployment teams, yeah, sorry, deployment team, and they were on the ground yesterday, and they documented our honorable MP Neil Gosai, and they also heard directly from the residents there. And I don't know if Mr. Pereira and Chan, you guys were there on the ground. You want to say a few words as as the feedback of what you got from the people there? What were some of the concerns? And what they want to see fixed and
According to
so
what
forth.
Chan was doing the videoing while Rajan was doing some of the stills that we have here now. So go ahead, either Chan or Rajan, you will respond into your experience over there yesterday and what you want us with.
Yeah.
Just elaborate on the common problems that you heard there.
Right. So the major problem is neglect over the last 10 years. Because when I spoke to some of the people, the residents there, indicated this problem started mainly about 9 years ago. I mean, they had instances in between, but it became a recurring problem on a regular basis less than 10 years ago. So it was, and basically from what we've seen,
in terms of the infrastructure and the lack of maintenance. It was a neglect on the part of the former administration to do anything about the area, because let's face it, they don't care about the Indian area. They don't care about the UNC areas, right? This, what is going on can actually be relatively easily fixed. The mayor is aware of it. The ministry is also aware of the problems that they're facing. And I am certain that there are several plans for remedial works sitting on a shelf somewhere in one of the ministries, but no action was taken. When we saw the water flowing across what has essentially happened is that the highway is presenting as a dam for the water that's coming from the western side of the highway. That water is draining all the way from the Mosque on Monroe Road, probably about 5 miles down to the highway, and then has to cross under the highway, and then through the community there, and across to what's the name of the road? I can't remember the name of the road, but there's the east and the west. Samaria Chase. Sorry, that's across over the road to Samaria Chase west, and then out into the swamp. The current infrastructure is crumbling. So one of the issues is that where it's crossing from the east to the west, it's constricted there. What we also have to is that the flow has increased with unplanned construction over on the other side of the highway. And so that has brought a lot more water down to cross the highway. As a result, the culvert that's under the highway currently cannot accommodate the flow, cannot accommodate the quantity of water. Some of it can be diverted southward towards another culvert lower down that has similar capacity, but does not have, the water doesn't go directly there. So some of it can be diverted there across the highway. So that would create a ease on the eastern side of the highway. On the western side, what's happening is when it gets to the main road, there was a bit of a weird situation out there where one of the residents was allowed to build his own drain out onto the side of the main road. And what he did is build the drain higher than the one that's coming from the east. So it's damming, and then they run another drain under Samaria Trace to throw it to one culvert, which has since collapsed and is only, I think, about 25 to 30% functional. So once the water reaches there, it's again going to, create a backlog, and it's going to back up into the community. That culvert has to be repaired. And there is another culvert to the right of that. If that drain that the resident constructed was lowered, it can take some of the flow to that other cylinder, which is 100% usable, and alleviate the effect of the collapsed cylinder. Once it gets to the other side of the main road, the drains are fairly wide there and can accommodate the flow. But then when you get to the swamp, you have the problem of tidal drainage. So if the tide is high, it's going to back up. If the tide is low, it's going to run out, but there is also problems with garbage being stuck in the mangrove and creating that same kind of effect you saw there with that was going on in Port of Spain. perhaps a solution for that, I am no engineer, but just thinking logically, perhaps a solution for that can be a holding pond on at the beginning of the swamp that can hold the water until low tide and then be released at that point in time. Again, I will leave those things to the relevant engineering experts, but these seem to be the main issues regarding the drainage there. These are the issues that are causing the problem now. And they can, like I say, be remedied once there's a way to do it. The minister, yes, the minister has said that he's going to make representation to the Ministry of Works, because it's mainly Ministry of Works, to have the necessary repairs done to at least alleviate 50%. But my take is, why go 50? We need to do 100%. That would be the better solution. So the residents, they are very well aware of the problems, and they are aware they have solutions for it. What I suggested to Marissa, our president, was to perhaps go back into the residents and have a sit down with them, listen to their ideas, and document the issues and the solutions that they are presenting, so that when we come, if we are involved in helping to alleviate it, we have a starting point. That document can also be used to be sent to the ministry and the MP, so that they will have an idea of what's recommended, and we'll also have a document that we could follow up on. That was my suggestion. You guys have any questions?
Well, Ken was going to be there in about 2 weeks, right? I guess you might have heard something like that.
I heard so, yes.
Right. So Ken is going to be meeting with the MP and you guys and the residents there. But one of the things I have been proposing, and then a while ago, together with Ken and Dr. Stephen Ramrope, who is former ODPM CEO, is that we expand the holding capacity, right? We have to deal. We have to look at the area where we can expand the holding capacity. Like you said, you recognize a pond there somewhere which can be utilized.
Yeah, a holding pond can be put at the beginning, at the end of Samaria Trace, where the swamp begins.
Right. So that's so a small holding pond, whatever size they can hold. But what I'm also discussing, and I've shared before, is upstream river. As the river comes down, there's a few things that that I have suggested, and Ken agrees with what I'm saying, Dr. Rambo, is that we work towards intercepting the flow after, on top of the cleaning of the river and all these things that should be done that wasn't done, the cleaning and the dredging. We have to find areas along the, say for instance, the Caroni River is feeding that area, that upstream river, where we can create additional water retention, lake-size holding ponds that can be utilized for water supply storage, down the road throughout the year. But at the same time, we will control the flow of water as it comes down the river, so you don't get that heavy force coming to you. Now, whatever water is gathered during within the area, there we would also have that additional holding holding pond, and then we want to create some pump house uh, along that area, so we can have all these things additional. Now, Ken has a design that he will share with you guys as he gets on the ground there. And Ken, you want to jump in here for a minute?
I've seen Ken's design, and it works very well. I've seen it in action before at Bamboo number 3.
Oh, you have seen it firsthand? Okay.
Yes, I have.
So,
When we were doing some drainage alleviation with John Humphrey back in the 90s, they were suggesting that, and I saw after they put it in what it looked like and how it works. And it works very well.
Right. So, like what we were suggesting is like the holding capacity storage area becomes a water supply facility where you are controlling the flooding, and you how to say restraining the water, whether it's a floodgate, a levee, some kind of water gate control, and on top of dredging the river. So all of these things that has to be put in place. This cannot be handled in the way that has been handled before, because you're going to continuously end up with the same problem again and again. So
It has
the
agreed.
designs has to be corrected. The culvert and the passage through the water has to be the water gate, has to be things that has to be installed, has to be corrected, upgraded as need be, but the control of the flow and cleaning and the maintenance also. But go ahead, gentlemen.
It has to be a holistic approach. There's no halving it. You have to go all the way, and it has to be holistic. I agree with that. But there also has to be the will to do it, and
Well,
that I think in the past has been a major problem.
well, it's a problem because people have their own agenda, and that is what creates the problem. People have their own self-serving agenda, and they might want to chisel some money here and there in the funds allocated to get the job done. And so this time around, we go in live and direct, and bringing the issue straight up so that they can't play games with us this time around. So we will address the issue straight up. We will bring the information to the minister. We will make sure that the minister gets the right information. We will make sure the minister gets the recommendation of what the alternate option is. And then they let the government decide. But we're going to do our part to present the idea. We're going to give the people a voice to say what they have to say, and make their recommendation, and then we're going to all resolve it together. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Ken. You're jumping in back here. Ken, you here?
Good luck
yeah,
with that.
just a
Gary,
question
I got
before
bumped
Ken
out
comes
here.
in. Yeah, Ken,
Go ahead,
Yes,
Gabriel.
sir.
how
Right,
many
right.
days?
So I was just sharing the fact that when you get down there, we're going to overlook everything basically, and we're going to make our recommendation based on what we see there. We're going to recommend how we decide to upgrade this situation, how we decide on what are our corrective measures we are recommending there, and then let the government decide. But we're going to make sure the government has the facts.
Yeah, just
Ken,
a
you can go
question
ahead.
I have. How many days in the year is subject to flood?
I'm not hearing him. Ken, are you
Oh,
guys hearing me?
sorry.
Well, we flooding is a perennial problem, mainly during the wet season, which is usually from July to December. That has shifted a little bit with the advent of global warming and so on, but it's basically that's the time that you have issues with flooding.
Well, it's
I agree with you.
most likely it starts around May now, because the last year it started around May, and I mean I've seen that happen before.
Yes,
So
so it like
yes,
starts from me.
we are dealing with global warming, and I keep saying that. So whatever infrastructure we have to expand it. And when we go to clean a drain, expand the holding capacity in the drain. Look for every option to expand the holding capacity. Don't just go on and make the drain like this how it is before, because in 2 3 hours, in a half an hour rain, you could get 2 3 feet of water. Depends on the amount of rainfall comes at the same time, right? But that's global warming. I mean, you experience going to Port of Spain. In half an hour, Port of Spain could have 2 3 feet of water. Because of how the amount of water that's coming on global warming. So whatever we're doing, we have to expand the holding capacity. Ken
Yeah,
seems to be getting kicked out. I
yeah,
don't know what's going on with his internet. Vade, you want to jump in here for a minute?
yeah. Gary, I understand
I'm
you
not
get
hearing
floods
Vade.
during the.
Let's see here.
I understand you'll get floods during the rainy season. All I was asking, how many days flood have you been experiencing?
I have no information on the number of days. Are you speaking about number of days it takes for floodwaters to recede, or
Yeah, what I'm saying, we need to collect data as to the number of days that the flood affect normal day-to-day activities. We need to collect data as to what damages to farmers, what inconvenience and so on to pedestrians, to people who use the road. So we need data because if you come to me, if you come to me as a minister, if you come to me, I will ask those questions. You know, if it's 1 week for the year, you know, they have priorities to deal with overall for the whole country. So I think we need to document and put those effects in terms of dollars and cents and data.
That information can actually be had from the Ministry of Local Government,
Yes,
Ministry of Social Development, because they're the ones that do payouts when people have damages and so on, and the Ministry of Agriculture. They would have such data in terms of payments for crops and all that kind of thing.
exactly. So you know,
But
one of
all
the
right,
big
so
one
if
of
we
the
were
big
to,
problems in Trinidad is the absence of data, and data is available whether you collect it directly, but we don't deal with data anymore. We don't deal with data, and that's a sad state of affairs at this stage in our development.
Wait,
I'll give you one example. I'll give you one simple example. You know, in America, you can get data on a monthly or weekly or even daily basis as to how much bad debt and delinquent accounts within the banking sector.
yes, because everything goes through a computerized system.
And
Unfortunately, we speak about that in Trinidad, but we haven't gotten to that stage as yet. There is data, but you're going to have to dig for it. It's because all of these things, once they have to make payouts or they have to do repairs, has to be logged somewhere. But finding it will be a challenge.
well, because they don't want to disclose it. It's as simple as that.
Well,
They
that
don't
too,
want to disclose it, make it difficult.
that too.
Unfortunately. Anyway,
But it's not as easy as punching in into a computer and getting a readout.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that we haven't reached that level or that stage as yet. So I said
okay.
most of it is manual,
Yeah,
but there are records.
So this is what we gotta do, guys. We gotta get our own people. Like how we have how you're building this team here. We get like you go to Shogunas West out there. You get people from that community to document for you. You create that how to say something for the young people to do. You know, it's something that's scientific, and those who are studying science might have a little more interest in it. But we try to collect our own data, so this is what we have to do going forward. So we will compare the data we collecting from the people and the data that we eventually get from the various ministries, and we'll see what is more factual.
Wait, I got bumped out there. I think you asked me a question previously.
yeah. I was just saying we need to find out how many days flooding for the year we have in these areas. You know, flooding to the extent where it disrupt transport, it damages the crop and so on. So we need to document all of that.
Right, and that would be a combination of local data within the communities,
That's
right?
correct. That's correct.
Um, we could look at data where subsidies requests claims are filed for subsidies,
That's
right?
correct.
For damaging flood damage and farmers with their flood damage subsidy and so forth. And also we could look at rainfall data and try to scrub that data to see what was the correlation with 5 inches of rain falling over a 3 hour duration, right?
That's correct. That's
And
correct.
once we start to scrub that data, we can now look at the vulnerabilities of the catchment, the watersheds, and say, well, hey, we could deduce and say, well, based on what we collected so far, this watershed here cannot handle 5 inches over 3 hours, which based on our IDF curve, intensity, duration, frequency curves, which is what we develop and we use to design, right? Um, it cannot handle, and that is identified as a maybe a 50-year storm, right? I'm
Right.
just
So
hypothetically speaking.
Right. So, if we get all of that data, you'll be able to make a more compelling case to the government. For example, I'll give you one example. Let's say flood damage claim for farmers. If it's X dollars per annum, and we say, wait a minute, to solve this problem, it is half X, 50% of X. Why wouldn't the government say, look, let me spend that 50 cents and save a dollar?
Vid, that's a good question, right? I think the government has to understand that the problem that we're dealing with is still evolving and it's not getting better anytime soon,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So we have to assess everything in terms of risk. What are the risks we're taking with inaction? We're not
Mhm.
acting. We're not adopting to climate resilient design to try to fortify our communities, upgrade our infrastructure, right? We spoke about the high tide influencing our storm drains. That is a problem almost anywhere along the coastal regions.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
in bamboo number three, right,
Right?
the
Yeah.
the the backflow would come in terms of St. Joseph River flowing at almost full capacity, right? And that water pressure, the infrastructure that they had there could not handle it. And the drainage division contacted me because, quite frankly, they said they couldn't solve it. They attempted to fix it twice and the structure failed.
mhm,
And I came up with an innovative design. It's registered with Intellectual Property Office. Back then was the Ministry of Legal Affairs Intellectual Property Office. And the design was registered there. It was developed for the government to fix these problems, and it will address the backflow, um, and which is just one solution. And this problem of fixing the catchment is going to require a multitude of solutions here, from garbage in our water courses to the high tide to the conveyance to mass storage to pumping, right? And we have to, as Gary mentioned, we have to now address this. We have to investigate these catchments and make the proposals to the government, make that
mhm,
pitch. Because again, why do you want to spend, you prefer spending maybe 10 million versus paying out 100 million every year,
mhm.
right? So down the road, the design, the holistic approach, right, will return value for money and it will result in cost savings.
Well,
But
exactly, because every flood session there, you have to pay out to those who suffered flood damage, and you always and so I am saying it is more feasible to invest less than that to prevent the problem. You
right,
know,
Gary, also the people didn't appoint you there to just pay out subsidies, right? They appointed you there to fix the problem, come up with viable solutions. The last
right?
government failed, and I showed you a classic example with the lighthouse, right? It's alleged like they spent about $24 million there, and it all went in vain. A loss to the taxpayers of Trinidad and Tobago, and they exacerbated the problem in South Key, right? This is the design, the classic failure from the last government. And that road, we do not want to go down that road of wasting taxpayers' money with trial and error engineering, right? Where we don't know something, well, let's try this. If it fails, no problem. The taxpayers have infinite amount of funds and we could just waste it. Those days are over, right? We need viable solutions. We're dealing with a major problem here that's affecting the entire globe, right? And we have to step up and deliver those solutions.
Can I just say something here for clarification or what have you?
Feel
The,
free, Dr. Mara, jump in.
yeah, it seems as though you all are referring to like the Works Department, which is a ministry. And if you're talking about Samaria Trace, that should be a local government issue. So we need to know who do what on where and what. And I think you're all on top of that, those kinds of things.
Well,
But
that
here,
was clarified in the site visit yesterday, where it was pinpointed what part was under Ministry of Works and what part was under. They did a tour
right.
yesterday. I don't know if you got a chance to look at the video, but go ahead.
I saw it. Yes, I saw it. But I didn't get pick up that at all. But But that's the thing you need, because ministries have a way and governments have a way of passing the buck, and you want to get away from some of this kind of thing by identifying who are responsible for what. Because if I listen to Mr. Parry, he says that there is an east and west of the highway, and then there's a culvert that is not maintained properly, and there's another one that is have to take more flows. It could, the volume of water can go through that. So like this can be, while I understand what the engineer is saying, there can be some quick. You all you talked about low hanging fruit. I think some of you talked about that. But there are some quick fix that we could that I seems to be picking up, like the culvert kind of thing. That is not a big thing. That could be done quickly. Some cleaning up drains and clearing the waterways and those quick fix kind of things. And then we could go to the long overhaul, which is the capital investment to correct the major issue, which I think Ken is getting into. So if you could try to identify it quick and I saw some of the drains that looks like if you clean it, you could get a better performance. And if you know the culvert kind of thing, that's a quick fix, and those kind of quick things that we can do. In the meantime, while we're looking for a long-term solution, there are some things that can help alleviate in the meantime. So why not identify those quickly and get them off your plate, and then look at the long term? But you should be working on both together, like Ken on his long-term plan, and the local government and even the Ministry of Works doing what they can within the time frame that they have, so it can alleviate ASAP rather than waiting for any long-term fix. Because if you wait for a long-term fix, this thing that's a long time. And in the meantime, worse things can happen. So if you could do some quick fix that could alleviate right now, I'm sure you all will be thinking along those lines. To get that going, that is something you should look at, because that's what I'm thinking about what you all are saying. So go ahead. I just want to interrupt and say
Dr.
that.
Maraj, you
So,
made a very good point there, and absolutely, there are some quick fixes with the high tide, right?
right.
A design I implemented in Bamboo number 3 could be scale. It's scalable. So I can scale it up or down based on the cross section, based on the flows.
Mm,
So we can address the high tide, right, to protect the our storm drains within the catchment from being influenced by the high tide. So we could fix that, right?
right.
Again, it's going to require an innovative design, which the ministry does not have. It's something that
Mm,
I have protected. I have the intellectual property rights to it,
right.
something which I developed for the ministry, and that's the one that
Mm,
they use. So we could now replicate that, scale it, and address the high tide along with some mass storage and a lift pump. Then we work
right.
backwards to expand on some of the
The lift
conveyance.
pump, the lift pump capacity is highly critical. In this thing there also, it has to be the right how to say the right uh, structure there for that. I mean, there's different sizes, but this has to have the right capacity in order to handle that kind of flow. So all of this has to be looked at
Exactly.
with your decision, Ken. On the capacity scale for that lift pump also.
Ri-
You know.
Right. So Gary, it is stormwater management at that point, right? And that's where the data comes in, right? And there are different type of storms here that you're dealing with. Based on the intensity, duration, frequency curves, which we use to identify our storms, right? 25, 10, 50, 25, 50, 75, 100, right? The curve, those IDF curves only go to a 100-year storm. Beyond that, we have to extrapolate that data to see whether it was a freak storm or a 500-year storm or a 1,000-year storm, right? So yeah, but look, right now with climate change, we're hearing about 1,000-year storms quite often, right? And those are devastating events. Our catchments cannot handle that. It's going to be devastating. Our conveyance system, we haven't upgraded our drain, just like our roads. It cannot handle the capacity. So when the volume exceeds the capacity on the roads, or volume over capacity exceeds 1, that's when you're going to have problems, traffic congestion. We have to understand all these different things and collect clean data to be able to design. Now, yes, Dr. Maraj, we can go in there without any data, right? And scale a design based on what's flowing to that area and implement a solution. And then call that phase 1. Then we phase it out where we expand the storm drains within the communities. We address all of the inverts, right? We address the garbage, right, which creates a lot of constriction. We educate the residents that, hey,
Right.
put your garbage in a basket where the dogs and cats cannot go in and tear it apart, and all of a sudden with the first drench of rain, it gets into the storm drain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Along with a much more national program where we have some kind of recycling program with a rebate for these bottles, these plastic drinking bottles, 25 cents for one. You'll see all these homeless people being employed, and they'll pick up these bottles and they drop it off the recycling facility where they get a 25 cent per bottle, or 10 cents or something to that effect, right? Remember a long time people used to be picking up the carrier bottles. I don't know if you guys remember that. The guy
Yeah,
with a
yeah,
bag and a
yeah,
stick,
yeah.
and they would pick up
Mm-hmm.
those carrier bottles and take it to, I guess, to the recycling plant, and they would recycle that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, something like that has to be reinstated, right? And it has to be viable also. We have to give these people, I mean, with inflation and stuff, 5 cents doesn't is almost worthless. So it has to be like a 25 cent at least minimum for one of those bottles.
But
But yeah,
not only that, Ken, the municipal corporation has to provide proper garbage pickup from their end. They have to provide designated dumping areas, and there has to be enforcement upon the education of the community on what is accepted and what is not accepted, and how do we proceed with the garbage. But you cannot be neglecting the pickup of the garbage. You cannot be neglecting, I mean, informing people, and neglecting the enforcement. So everything fell along on the job here. Everything fell along on the job. Go ahead.
right. So when I built that first design to address the backflow, right, in bamboo number 3, there was also a garbage problem at the lift pump. You would have the backflow being addressed where the St. Joseph River was backflowing through a sluice gate that was leaking. It would flood the entire area. But here's the problem also. There's a lift pump in bamboo number 3, the lower part of bamboo number 3, and the Uriah Butler Highway there, I think is visible to everyone who passes by on that highway, right? They had a 2D gate there in the drain, and the garbage would create a constriction there. So at one behind the gate, the entire thing is flooding. In front of the gate, the entire place is flooding. Behind the gate, you have the lift pump with the wet well, and it's not being recharged. So the pump is off, and the entire bamboo area is flooding there. And because of that 2D obsolete trash rack. So again, the ministry asked me for a solution. They say, well, Dalchan, what do you think about this? I say, okay, let me sit down and watch this thing carefully. I sat down there for many days, sit down with a pen and a pad and drawing and writing and stuff. And I'm actually doing the same function that the guy would do with a long rake and a pole. And he would be raking the garbage. And I said, you know what? There has to be a different way to do this. Let me work with the water. Let me work with what I have and the forces. And I created a 3D trash rack. And I submitted it to the Intellectual Property Office. And again, I was granted the industrial design for it. And we tested it. I did some testing of my own to get to angle it properly, the grate. And I implemented there, and it solved the problem. So Gary, I'll send you that video, and we'll probably have it here on the show, on the program one day, so people can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is the type of innovation I'm talking about here, not just obsolete sluice gate and flap gates that get warped and left open during a flood, and there's backflow into the catchment area, right? We have to move away from this type of design that has limitations, and embrace innovation, because these innovative designs are the solutions, right? Um, Again, if we get hit with a 100-year storm, it is going to test every single drainage area in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's going to cause a lot of destruction to the farmers. So we have to also think about the farmers, the residents, and the community as a whole. You know, but it is a lot in terms of infrastructure spending, because it is not going to cost a couple cents. We're talking about millions of dollars in upgrade here. So the government has to be willing also to be able to allocate the funding to deal with climate resilient designs. And if not, we spin it up in mud, right? The same way they could spend, the same way the PNM government spend, or so maybe let me rephrase that. The same way they wasted alleged $20-something million by Lighthouse, right? They could have implemented designs, viable solutions, and it could have worked for even less.
Ken, if I may add, you remember a few years ago, we had floods in Central that covered houses about 8 feet. What would have caused that?
I don't know. Dredging of the Caroni wasn't done. I don't guess in my way. I
I
just
don't
guess
You're,
at
know.
what time might have been.
Wade,
The
you're talking
dredging
about
of the Caroni.
2018?
When we had houses covered, I mean, they were covered with flood water.
Right. This is in a place called Greenvale, right?
Uh-huh.
That place for that HDC housing complex was built uh, in a floodplain, basically,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
Mhm.
And
In
the infrastructure to safeguard the backflow from that river was not there
Yeah.
to safeguard that community.
No, there was a massive flood long before that. So
yes,
when you traveled on the Solomon Hochoy on the western side, there were no floods. That's going down to the Gulf. But on the eastern side, you had, I mean, it was just a sea. It was just a sea.
Right. So then
Yeah.
you have the classic case of the Cary River overtopping, right?
Yes.
Wade, when we have a major storm in that Cary River Basin catchment, right?
Yes.
At some point, as it starts to drain, you're going to have something called a flood wave. And that flood wave peaks around El Carmen to around Bamboo Real Spring, somewhere around there, right? So these communities around there, or the river, right? The infrastructure is going to be tested and it's going to experience a lot of flood loads coming down from the upper regions. So the communities around there are very, very vulnerable. Now, there's no infrastructure to protect the tributaries that are flowing into the Caribbean River. So
Mm-hmm.
water, as you know, all know, would have a tendency to want to level off. Water
Mm-hmm.
don't flow at two different levels. If you flow at this level, there's a hydraulic gradient, and it wants to move from high to low to level, right? So it would backflow into these tributaries, into these communities, and flood the entire thing. Now, what you're talking about there is when is that western part there, or is it the eastern part on the rice project there, a Tranchil and all those places?
Yeah, like when you're coming north
Right.
on the right,
When you
that's
come
the
in north
eastern side
on
of
your right hand side.
eastern
So
side
what
of
you
the
have
highway
there
is flooded.
is
Yeah.
you have the highway acting as a berm, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then you have the Caroni spilling in El Carming and higher up around, you know, along that El
Mm-hmm.
Carming area, coming back more west, right? It's overtopping his bank, and that
Mm-hmm.
whole area, that rice project now is like a big spillway or floodplain. So
Mm-hmm.
all of the water accumulating there, and you have about 6 to 7 feet of water there, right? The thing is, that's a major storm. Those things are
Mm-hmm.
major, major storms. And we have to
Mm-hmm.
have the data to identify those storms, right? For example, the amount of rainfall over what duration. If we have 6 inches of rain falling in a matter of 2 hours, that's a lot of rain, right? Um, and that now we will use the IDF curve, the intensity, duration, frequency curves to identify those storms, whether they're a 100-year storm, whether that was a 500-year storm, a 1,000-year storm, or a 50-year storm, right? So data is very, very important in water resource. Um, but I was able to design my structure in bamboo number 3, and I used the entire cross section that I was dealing with. And
Mm-hmm.
the guy from one of the engineers said, "So what kind of data are you using?" I said, "You already have a storm drain there with this cross section here, and I'm going to do a 1.5 factor safety on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my structure, based on the cross section, is much more efficient than what you have there. So I'm going to get a better flow once that water comes to my structure." So again, Wade, we need to embrace innovation. It is the only way we're going to solve some of these problems, right? I've documented flap gates that are left open, those metal flap gates. Those structures become warped over time, right? The
Mm-hmm.
hinges become rusted out. I did a site visit down in Manzanilla along that new roadway, and they're implementing at the culvert outfall end metal flap gates, mild steel metal flap gates. And I
There
met
you go.
with the director of coastal there, and I said, hey, I just did a report on these flap gates here. This is not going to work. This is a disaster waiting to happen. Number one, it's going to get rusted at the hinges, right?
Mhm.
And you're going to need a much first to give it. You need at least 12 inches of positive head to crack that gate. So
Mhm.
when you have the hinges being rusted out and
Mhm.
debris from the ocean and sand coming against it, you're already exceeding 2-3 feet there, right? Of elevation head, positive elevation head to open that gate. So again, what's going to happen? The gate is going to be shut, and your water in your the river swamp is going to continue to rise, and it's going to overtop sheet flow across the road and scour out everything again. And we're back to square one, and the taxpayers are going to lose about 40 to $50 million again there. And I documented it, and I sent in a proposal because they asked me for a proposal. This is the director saying, Ken, we don't have a solution. This is a temporary solution, fix here, right? Thing that we implemented, but we don't have a solution. So I
Mhm.
went down, I did my research, I did my collected the data, and I sized and scaled a design, and I submitted a proposal there. So
Yeah, but you know, Gary, Ken, and Dr. Murad, um, one of the main problems here is that the house designs for that we use in flood areas. Now, our forefathers, I think they were far more intelligent in that respect. They would build their houses on stilts. They recognized, look, of they would have floods, but that's fine. Most of the things would be secured. And I think building flat houses in floodplains is just a no-no and should not be allowed.
well, Vera, in the US here, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
identify the 100-year flood, floodplain, right?
Hmm.
And you have to build your house away from that and have a buffer.
Hmm.
So I would always tell anyone back home in Trinidad, if you have historical data, right, or you have watermarks for a major storm, right, try to stay above that if you're building anything. Try to keep all your furniture and all of your important belongings, try to keep it elevated above that. If it's a ground floor and it is below that historical mark, right,
Hmm.
then you need to move all of your important stuff and put it at a higher elevation, maybe the first floor, right, and cater for a major storm that the ground floor is going to flood, right? Um, or full your property, right, and try to elevate it.
Yeah, because flood damage is very severe in many areas. I mean, you're seeing every year people's furniture, their bed, their fridges, their stove, everything being flooded out. And I think year after year, something is wrong. Those buildings should not be allowed. That's the point I'm making because ultimately they probably would not get insurance for it as well. And we are seeing in Florida today, insurance companies are just running away from most of the areas in Florida, and
From
that
the
has tanked
coast.
the property prices, property values. So we have to learn from all of this. Any time the insurance industry could say no, we are not going to insure this particular sector or this particular area.
Where they just reclassified Melissa, that hurricane.
Yeah.
It is also tied as one of the most powerful, strongest
Hmm.
storms in Atlantic history.
Huh.
190 miles an hour,
That is unbelievable.
right?
Unbelievable.
And I've told people that, hey, we don't have to design, we have to design for at least 250 miles, right?
Hmm.
Think about the design and the money to spend on a structure that's going to withstand the wind loads from a 250 mile per hour wind speed. You know, you're going to be probably doing double width walls, concrete
Hmm.
loaded, right? The storm surge, if it's by the coast,
Hmm.
cater for at least a 25-foot storm surge, right? So these are monsters, mate. These are not hurricanes anymore. Those are monsters. As the water continues to get warmer and warmer, the ocean temperatures continue to increase, right? When these systems pass over this warm water, right? There's so much moisture being pumped out there that is going to is going to hatch monster storms, and they're going to jump from a category 1 straight to category 4, right? You won't see a category 1, 2, 3, 4, like those are that progressive pattern. From 1, all of a sudden, in a matter of 48 hours, this thing jumped to a 5, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, this occurred with Melissa.
Mhm.
It jumped,
Why?
actually jumped within a 48-hour period from a 1 to a 5,
Mhm. Yes,
right?
yes.
So
But,
what is driving that is the real threat. And we
mhm,
have to understand that, and we have to design, right? Climate resilient designs. We have to fortify our communities. And that's why I've made that commitment to this group. A little
Community
slow
response
sometimes.
development
Community
deployment.
response development team, right?
Deployment.
That hey, whenever there's a problem, call me. And look, that is is extended to anyone out there. You have a flooding problem, call me. We take a look at it. We bring down the team. We have Gary here. We have this program, right? And we get the word out. We'll investigate it. We'll try to also, advise people in terms of safety. I went to Bamboo number 3. There was a major flood there. And some people are saying, Mr. Dalton built something and we don't know if that failed. So when I went down there and I said, okay, let's go, I met the then Minister of the MP, Mr. Prakash Ramada, right? He was the then minister. And we went on a boat with Kalpu brothers, and it took us around. And we went to a area, next to the Carney River bank. I'm sorry, the St. Joseph River bank. And then I saw exactly what happened. The river was flowing beyond. I mean, at full capacity, and it started overtop at some areas where the bank is low. It wasn't built up, right? And the water started to sheet flow over the bank and erode the bank. And the residents had to actually put sandbags and scamper about to prevent that. It burst it overtopped in 3 places, and it flooded the entire Bamboo number 3 there. I told the lady living right next to the bank that, ma'am, in the event that this was to happen, you need to evacuate. You cannot stay in this house. Get elderly
mhm,
persons, children, everything, and get out. If you hear that there's a bank breach, that's going to be a sudden rush of water coming into your homes and stuff. And you wouldn't have any time to react or to save yourself.
mhm,
All you can do, get a ladder, tie it on to the roof there so that people can start climbing up and elevating themselves. So your roof
mhm,
is almost a little higher than the river bank or the water
mhm,
elevation, so you can save yourself and wait there for rescue team to come and rescue you. You know. So again, we have to advise people like this, right? Because a lot of people they have never experienced a sudden breach where entire piece of the bank or section of the bank just slips, right? And you
Because
have no time to think.
I could tell you what went on with that bank.
Go ahead.
There was someone building in Bamboo and needed materials to fill their land, their property,
Oh no.
and they dig it out from the bank.
mhm,
Reports were made. This happened up in El Carmen as well. I mean, those levees that were built in the 1990s have held, except where people have interfered with them. John Humphrey, and this is coming to the question that you asked about that flood many years ago. That
mhm,
was a very devastating flood, and it prompted the then, he was Minister of Housing at the time, John Humphrey, but he was the Member of Parliament for St. Augustine.
mhm,
And we were working with him, and we found out that what happens there is that when there's high tide, the carrying flow is just basically stops, and all the water comes back. We
mhm,
took a tour down that river, the Caroni River, and reached the mouth of the river and drove a little way into the sea. And the guy pulled his engine up and stopped and jumped out the boat, and he was ankle deep in water at high tide.
Right.
The solution at that time was that John hired a barge. There was a huge barge with a vacuum, and it cut a channel 45 feet deep by about 30 feet wide by quarter of a mile into the Gulf of Paria,
Mhm.
and drained the entire Caroni and all of its subsidiaries within 1 week.
Right.
Because what happened was we were going down, the tributaries, coming through from Mova and all that kind of the water was just stagnant and nothing was even living there. Apart from that, the next thing, the same barge had because the river started to narrow coming to the mouth of the river, which is not a usual thing. But it wasn't narrowing. What was happening is the mangrove was encroaching into the center of the river. So you could see the riverbank way at the back, but the mangrove had made the river passage narrow. And what was going on too was that debris coming down would stick in the mangrove and cause a damming effect. So the barge then went up the river, up to the bridge, up to the Caroni Bridge by the highway. And what they did, they used a grappling arm, and they were grabbing the mangrove and just flinging it out the side. They cut the river got so much wider, you couldn't believe it was the same river. So it got to be the same width, or actually a little bit wider than it was at the bridge. Because down at the mount, it was like about maybe 10 to 12 feet wide. That was the channel that you could pass with a boat. It became wider when they did that. And that along with the levees that were built up in Piarco and El Carmen, and the banks that were made up there, and the banks in Caroni for the St. Joseph River, plus the cleaning and the repairing of the Blackman drain, that stopped that kind of flooding from 1999 till 2018, when the banks in El Carmen collapsed because the same thing, people removed material from it, and as soon as the water starts to flow through, just take the rest of the bank with it. And also there was that was a kind of a triple whammy, because that caused, for the first time, the south side of the highway, the south lane, the flood in about 3-4 areas, effectively cutting off north from south. That was, I think, the worst I've ever seen, and that was really bad. 2018 that occurred. We haven't had one as bad since then, but we've had floods like that.
So the question then, Mr. Pare, since a solution was found for what I thought was a massive flood, that's in my memory. I didn't realize it was in the 1990s, but
yes, it was.
The question now is whether that passage is being maintained or whether it's being silted again.
Absolutely not. It's back to basically where it was back then.
Right. So we're planning for another flood, and that's what it is. And the question of maintenance has to be
another factor helped us to keep floods away was Mr. Dalchan's screen at the end of Caroni. I'm sorry, bamboo number 3. Yeah. That and the fact that there were 2 pumps on the other side of the Caroni, which is the western side, that was in Aranguez, that were not not functional. Yeah, it was not functional, and that was because I think there was some falling out between a former Minister of Agriculture, Kamal Mohammed, I think, and the farmers down there, and the pump stopped working. And they found the parts in the Ministry of Works, and they got the pumps repaired, and that drained 200 acres of land in Aranguez South. 200 acres of land that was under constant water was drained by just effectively using those pumps. I think they're still working. I hope.
But also the bank along that bamboo number 1 there needs to be raised also, where those pumps are.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that was done at the time as well. Those banks were created by that same machine that was doing all this thing. And they did actually make the top, because it was supposed to be designed that a patrol vehicle could go up and down, because the guys who were running the drugs they get a free channel to drive up and down. But I don't know. I think all of that fell apart after a while. And I'm sure the mangrove has regrown back into it again.
Yeah. So Vera was correct just now when I said when you asked the question, what caused that flood, and I said, Dredge the Carony. I was
Yeah.
guessing my way around, but I was kind of correct.
Yeah.
but,
Yes,
but, but,
you're psychic, Dr. Marat.
yes.
But I
So,
think,
but I kind of guessed my way around. But here's something again, because you mentioned the water in the east of the highway,
yeah,
that on the west there is no flooding. It should be the other way around, but one of the things Trinidad is doing, they have a too short term of the way they do things, because if you put them on housing development, you must look at what will happen 10 miles around while
hmm
building
hmm hmm
apartment buildings in these areas. What will happen? Or when I lift the road 6 inches to get away from flooding, what will happen to the east and the west of the highway? Those kinds of structural kinds of things that are taking place short-sighted, and not having an engineer like Ken, who would see around the corner, kind of the blind spots, is what you're missing. Because I understand there's global climate change and all of that, but Trinidad problem is that I would say that it's small compared to some of the little things that they could do to avoid some of these things. I can mention a lot of them just now, but having to recycle and so there's some little things that Trinidad people could do so we could mitigate this problem, rather than spending all this money when some simple things can be done and quickly and could help the situation. And collection of garbage run a regular basis. All these kinds of things. I remember seeing way back when, a long time ago, I live in Arima, and I went down to South, and I saw in the Oropouche River there was what do you call it, a backhoe, like dredging the river, like whatever the clearing. Maybe they know there's some embankment happening there, and the clearing up east toward Davy Junction, or wherever that is. Davy from like Palmis, I don't know what they call Palmis, yeah, to Davy, somewhere up there. They were dredging that whole area. It is, I don't know how often they do it in Trinidad, but that colony should be dredged like once a year or twice or once in 5 years. I know the engineers should know how often they should do it, because every time you put up a new development somewhere, something happening down the road. Every
hmm
time you do this that highway that you mentioned, the water in the east, is when they lift that road or build the highway, they never consider all the culverts that water had to pass underneath. Because every 10, 15, 20, a quarter mile, there should be some kind of engineers who know more than I do. But
Correct.
but your planning and your structural engineering need very short-sighted, and that's part of your problem. Global warming, global this and global that, I don't think that's the only problem. You have a different kind of problem. You look at that first before you look at what natural is coming in the atmosphere. Think about what you can do. and and
But
and,
Dr.
and
Maraj,
so
hold on a second
if,
there. You
if,
don't seem to understand what global warming is. Global warming is dumping
no,
an
no,
excessive
I don't
amount
want to
of
get into that. No,
rainfall.
no, I no, I understand that, but I understand there is some of that. I'm not saying it is not. I'm not denying it, but there are some things that something we could do to really deal with the situation as is. Or
Yes,
for
yes,
5 years
exactly.
talking and
Yeah, you
nothing is
on
done.
point. You on point with that.
Yeah,
Well, do you
and there's
know?
one. Right, and before I leave, I want to mention one more thing to Ken, and we'll talk about this after sometime later again. But Ken, you're having all these nice, grandiose plan, great. But priorities are number one. Number two, you're only constrained by the budget. Do they ever ask you to tell us what it will cost, and do you put the figures together that you can?
Those numbers will be based on the size of cross section that we have to deal with. If it's a
Do they
big
ask you to
river,
right? Do they ask you to a budget? Okay, Ken. If I say, okay, Mr. Engineer, you give this nice plan, lovely. Can you put some figures of what it will cost us to get this thing done? They don't ask you that, do
so
they?
they I have
Well,
to price my design because it's
Uh-huh.
I own the design and it's
Right,
protected by the Intellectual Property Act in Trinidad and Tobago. So no
right,
one there could use that design and replicate it without my permission, right?
right.
So based on the size of the cross section of that drain or river, that would determine how I scale my design, and that would be the determining factor when it comes to costs.
Well, yeah, but
This is why
they
I
wouldn't ask
mentioned
you to cost any item, no.
well,
no, I have to give them a
at this
cost.
stage, Dr. Maraj, we are in the process of communicating with the government, so that will come in the long run, but
No,
right
no,
now
I'm
we're in a
asking. Yeah, I
state.
know, but I'm asking, can they ever ask him for that also, or that is part of not part of his portfolio?
Oh yeah, I have to provide that because I have to construct
Right,
the structure. The structure
right.
belongs, the design belongs to me. I have to build it.
Yeah, but the costing part of it, somebody else
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
do it.
No, I have to do it also.
Okay, good.
That,
Yeah,
Again,
that's the that's the quantity surveying part of
right,
the
yeah.
project.
Dr. Maraj, it's just like the owner of Microsoft, right?
right,
They put their price on their software.
right. No, I
So it's the
understand.
same
No,
thing.
no, no, because I told him, I say, well, okay, you could, because the engineer comes up with all reason, and then the cost part of it, because all of these things might be nice, and all the guy says, I had no money, so there goes your nice, beautiful plan. You frame it and put it up on the wall, but that's it. They didn't have the money,
Well,
that's it.
when you think about the cost benefit analysis, the
Yes,
government will lose out more
that's
than
what they should do.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. They will lose 10, 20 times more every
yeah,
single year.
yeah,
So again, the government was elected to solve problems, come up with viable solutions, and the people, right? They're asking for these solutions. They want viable solutions. They don't want to just hear we desilting something and the place flooding again, right?
right,
Desilting is routine maintenance. You have to maintain your cross sections. You have to maintain the river mouth, right? Because you
right.
have a silt load, right? Silt is being transported from the higher elevation because the force
Mm-hmm,
of that water, the velocity of that water erodes and it transports a lot of silt. So there's a silt load, right? When
mm-hmm,
when the river now starts to lose its energy, at the more as it starts to flatten out, that's where you have a large silt deposit.
mm-hmm,
So the ministry always have to maintain and desilt and then clean the vegetation, the overgrowth. Like Mr. Pare mentioned, the overgrowth of that mangrove, right?
You know what,
They
gentlemen?
should
What I'm concerned about, Ken, is when we desilt, right? And we just drop the stuff on the top of the river bank, and that comes right back in the river.
correct,
So
and it flows right
we have
back.
to build some kind of an embankment structure that we also reinforcing the embankment of the river, and we not putting it in a way to go back straight into the water. It's like you see people clean a drain in some local community and did everything on the side of the road, and the first
Yes.
rainfall come and wash it back down in
Well,
there.
well, Gary, the check dams and the higher elevation would reduce some of the silt loads, because again, it will act as a silt trap also.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at, what I'm considering, I want to see is some kind of a reinforcement of the embankment area. When we
Right, but
widen, we
yeah,
deepen, and also, yeah. So these are
yeah.
recommendations we need to make.
Now,
Also, yeah.
very important. We cannot use each and any type of material to reinforce those banks, right? It has to be material that has a certain bearing capacity and so forth. Those silt is not recommended to reinforce banks because it's just going to get washed away again back into the river. So we have to think and plan properly what we're doing, and we have to think about resiliency in these designs.
Mr. Maraj, before you go, just to change the topic a little,
Go ahead, Pete.
mm-hmm.
I was discussing with a friend, and he had suggested, that even beggars don't accept coins anymore. So he
Yes.
said, look, perhaps we should just look at abandoning coins and just using the dollar. So I'd made that suggestion to the governor of the central bank, and I don't know if you noticed, probably a few days ago, they decided to stop minting the 5 cents coin,
Oh my
I
Lord.
saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
right?
Yeah.
Well, they haven't
And
decided as yet. They're actually they've taken it under advisement. They're looking at it because it
right,
costs 22 cents to produce one 5 cent piece, and
right,
it's no longer even copper. It's actually metal because
right.
you can pick it up with a magnet.
So it'd be good for them to let the government know and the population know how much they'll be saving per annum. But
So
by
basically,
graduate,
they're trying to force us into digitization, then where you're going everything electronic and you don't have to print nothing.
well, I don't mind that, but it's just the question of confidentiality and the question of your privacy. I think we have to be very cautious of that because I don't know if you know, in China they have everything on one card. and government can control it, you know. For example, I'll give you one example. There was a run on a bank, um, and many of the depositors from different parts of the country wanted to get on the train or get on the bus, etc., to go and protest at the bank. And do you know what the central bank government did? They imputed in the card that they had COVID and they could not travel. So we have to be very, very cautious about this
Yeah, no, I'm just
decentralization.
saying that the world is trying to force us in a direction there, but this is the intention of a lot. There's a lot of hidden agenda behind all this digitization.
Don't
So
worry,
Yeah.
Trump has done that up. Trump has done that already. That's
Well, I
not even
hope
a few months
so.
ago. That was the woke agenda.
Listen, I really hope so because that is madness. People in Barbados protesting like hell against it as well.
They were looking to do that by 2030. So
Yes.
their
So
plans have
I
been
mean,
pushed back
like
by
say
another 10 years.
hiding money in the only and thing you can't do that and save no more. Them trying to mash up that, but they know how we Indian people, in particular, how we save and build what we had, right? You
Correct.
know.
You'll have to save in gold and silver, you know.
Do I see that anyway? Trinidad and Tobago should control and not be forced into any situation.
No.
Because these European countries, we have to meet European standards, American standards. So what at what point is the Caribbean standards enforced? Why don't we get to a point where we put them
We have
into following our standards?
because we have no standards.
Yeah, but we don't stick together. You know.
Well, also, Gary,
That
that
comes
comes
every
with a lot of
time.
a lot of money and spending and research, right? If you want to set up your own, let's say your own building codes, right? We do we have an adopted a building code in Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah, we
or
yeah we have.
We do have, but it's not
which is
We have.
the
followed.
international building code, right?
Actually, it is very much. We do have a lot of people breaking the law. That's not enforced, but major contractors do follow building codes.
Right,
They have no
the
choice.
IBC, the international building code,
Yeah,
But
because we
right?
Mr.
are we are in a
Parry,
hurricane. We are in a hurricane zone. We're
yeah,
just outside of it, but we have to build for both earthquakes and hurricanes.
but
So we use
Mr. Parry,
creeks in our rapids.
let me make a point on that. I don't know if you all recall the earthquake we had in about 2019.
Yes, I was here.
Right? That was almost a 6.97, you know,
Yep. Yes. Great.
7 on the Richter scale.
I was standing on my doorstep.
Right. Well, here what
Four floors up.
when you look at the damage to Trinidad, it was very minimal, you know.
That's right, and that
Am
is
I right
because
or wrong?
that is
Am I
because
right or
correct.
wrong?
You're very
When
correct,
you
Yeah,
when
and
you
that is
look at
because we built the code.
no better than code, because
Yes,
when you look at a 7 earthquake on the Richter scale in other countries, the amount of damage that you see is become
yeah,
world news.
yes. Because
So
the day after I called my friend who was the engineer on the project when they built the building I live in.
yes,
I'm 4 stories up, and I felt that shake. I was right on my doorstep actually, feeling that shake. And I called him the next day, and I said, "I called him. Thank you." He said, "For what?" I said, "Well, for building my building so strong." So he started laughing at me. He said, "Let me tell you something. That earthquake can't touch your building. Your building was designed to withstand an earthquake to the magnitude of 10."
my goodness,
So I asked
exactly.
him the question. I said, "So what about One Woodbrook Place? Because they also built that." And he was again the engineer on record. And because some of the outbuildings had some plaster fall off the walls. And
Right,
then he said to me, "We were not responsible for the outer buildings. We were responsible for the towers. And those
right.
towers can actually sway 6 feet to either side without any damage. That is also built to withstand 10." So we do build a code for hurricanes. Sorry, for earthquakes more than hurricanes, but yes.
But
And
you know,
that's why we don't have that kind of damage.
when that happened, I was in Miami Airport and I had just completed a 3-story building. I was worried as hell and I was anxious to get back to inspect the building. But when I did inspect it, came back and inspected it, there was no damage at all. no
Yeah,
cracks or anything.
yeah,
So
we actually do very good at the building codes.
yeah,
Yeah, people doing renovations and tacking on things and building outside or on their
Well,
property line and all that kind of thing. But those are minor violations.
yeah, but
yes, yes.
you know what I've encountered in Trinidad? A lot of people they don't have approvals. They're
Yeah.
building steel buildings. The fabricator said, okay, we use a 10 by 10 49, and we built 10 homes like this, we built 10 buildings. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe it might be overscale for the loads, right?
Mhm.
But as far as doing the engineering, right, doing the engineering calculations and stuff and getting the approvals, a lot of people they tend to bypass that and they don't do it. Even
But
Well, that's
I had a
partly
guy
corruption.
in I had
Ken,
a guy in Port of Spain, right? The guy
mhm.
wants to build a building, a multi-story building, in a very expensive place in Port of Spain, just around the savannah there. And I told him, I said, you will need to do a geotechnical, right, to design the foundation. And one of the contractors said, we don't need to do that, People building buildings all around here and it is following us yet, right? And he's not going to spend $60,000 to do a geotechnical, subsurface investigation. I say, well, all right, if you guys want to do that, get the next engineer who could design that foundation, but I can't design that. you know. So a lot of people look at costs, but they don't think about safety, right? It's only when your building starts to shake with a 7.0 something sustained and it's a shallow earthquake and realize that you built that on sensitive soils, right?
Mhm.
Then you start to see differential settlement and But look, there's a right way to do things, and there's some ways people like to cut costs. I would always advise people to do it the right way.
Ken,
You know,
Ken, let me give you my experience as well. To get approvals from the government, from town and country and so on, take decades.
Yes, that's
One of the
um,
problems with Trinidad and Tobago is that it is the most difficult place to do business. It's one of
Yes.
the reasons why business people don't want to come here
yes,
and invest money. Because
yes,
if
correct.
it's the simplest things, we have made it so difficult. Now they're trying to digitize, but that's another set of difficulties. So it's just hard to do business here, any kind of business. It doesn't matter what it is, and that is so for a reason. That is so because everybody expects to collect a bribe. So if I make it hard for you to get a license and tell you, well, I ain't gonna pass here unless you pass it $300, you'll pass it $300, right? That's how it works. It's
Well,
so, as Lee
it,
Kuan Yew said, corruption is the biggest block to success and
that
prosperity.
that is so
That's
correct.
the reason we changed
Yeah.
government, right? That's why we made an extra effort this time to change
Well, we
government.
hope we hope it's changed and not exchanged. So we're still waiting. Jury out.
Well, I mean, the cleanup job is so horrendous. I mean, so much to get done because of the extent and the depth of the filth, that we have to clean out. So, I mean, I think it's going to take us some time to really get in gear or get things in place where we get to that point. So far as I see, it's like you're going to put up a building and you have to dig out so much garbage before you even start the building.
But
So
we live in hope.
yeah, yeah. Well, I intend to stand my ground on that one.
Yeah.
you know.
With, without hope, there's no life. But
So
coming
this
and
is
talk,
what this is what we need. This is why we need you guys to continue building the team that you started out with there, and we move forward and addressing the issues. Well, go ahead, Wade.
yeah, just talking about cleanup. For 10 years, the garbage dump at the Claxon Bay flyover under the PNM. Uh, I don't like to use these things, but it is so obvious. Soon as the government changed, they have cleaned up that garbage dump. The guys used to dump the garbage.
On the
And,
road.
yes, and you're seeing it from the highway. All that has been cleaned up. So I'm so glad to report that. So whoever the councillors and so on should be congratulated for keeping that site clean.
I mean,
You see, you have to have this is somebody has to do it, and it's unfortunate that the UNC have to do these things because who's going to do it? Because the mess that you Trinidad will be not a real place if you don't correct some of like what is going through my mind is looking at those buildings and putting up buildings in a flood zone, knowing that you have not taken the infrastructural development to prevent flooding from put up a proper structure so flooding wouldn't affect you. The people in
But
Greenville, for example,
not the matter of the proper structure. Putting your structure in the blocking the water flow or blocking a river or blocking a drain or expanding your
that should never
property.
happen.
That is
That is where the and that's the
that
point
is
I'm
where the
coming.
problem comes.
Right.
That's where the
That's the
problem
point
comes.
I'm coming to because you have to have zero. You all talk about bribe just now. You have to have zero tolerance for any form of bribe because you're endangering people. You're endangering tenants. You're endangering farmers. You're endangering livelihoods. So that should be close to not that penalty, but years in jail for whenever an officer approve a building that should not have been approved
Mhm.
or
With people's rights.
somebody extend the property and create a hazard and then rent that property out, that should be close. That should be jail sentencing or some serious kind of a because this is you can't have these kinds of things. You cannot be a real country when you have all these bribes and on the hand and civil servant taking 1 month when they could have done it 1 week or one day. You're taking a whole month, go and come back, they profile it and they put it on, shove it in a hole somewhere and say, come back in 3 weeks' time when you could have do the damn thing right away and give you back your paper and go to hell and start doing. No, those kinds of lazy, long time kind of thing. And digitization would help you digital if you have an attitude but worse you they'll say the computer broke down or sorry the system not working there so there's a glitch in this all kind of crap they'll come up with
Huh.
this you have a serious people problem so all the nice things you all are doing I mean I'm sorry for Ken have all his in the heart in the right place but I don't want Ken to get disappointed he's a Trinidadian he would know he should know how this thing go but all you two, Gary, if you don't get what you need to get, you realize what you're dealing with. You're dealing with an uphill task. All these great
Doc,
plans you
doc,
all have,
Dr.
doc, the
excellent.
Maraj.
thing about it here is we will light them up live and direct on the web. You understand?
Yeah, but
Because they give me any trouble. Like, we experienced a little issue yesterday when Chan was out there videotaping the live stream that the MP required. We had some individuals who think they had the power to shut us down. But I want to send a clear message that they're backing up against the wrong tree. Yeah, you know. And so I did post out a message sending a very clear message that to think twice with interfering with my people when they come there to do something. But anyway, yes, go ahead, Doc.
And you had some people yesterday from the girls. Remember the people you had the other night? The
Well,
volunteer,
Chan, who is here, and her husband is part of that team.
right,
Chan was assisting me with the live stream yesterday.
Yesterday,
right.
yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
Chan,
right.
so you want to tell us a little bit about that? What happened yesterday?
Because just let me tell you, I like the volunteer attitude for those people I saw that you had on there. Then some younger people like looking people than Chan. I don't think he was there. I don't know. But
Well, Chan was holding the camera. She
Somewhere
was
behind the camera.
oh, I
she
see
was
that. I couldn't see him. I couldn't see behind the camera. So that spirit I was getting from those people, I said, this is what we need. You could see they volunteer and they want to move the country forward. Is that spirit has to be multiplied 1,000 times in Trinidad and
well
Tobago.
said. Well
We'll
said,
get
Dr.
somewhere.
Maraj.
Go ahead.
so
Well
this
said,
this
Dr.
is this
Maraj.
team is going to be helping us with that. They're going to be assisting the MP with these issues. So they're going to be support for the MP, and I'm going to send them to other MPs too. But we're going to solidify ourselves in the central area first.
Well, I
Yes.
just want to
Yes.
say that we at the Community Response Deployment Team (TT) are
Right.
here to ensure that we find the solutions and do our best to implement those solutions.
And
Very
with
good.
your help and support, we know we can do this.
Thank
Very
you
good.
very much, guys. I'm so happy to get
Definitely.
connected with you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
And that's with you.
Good. Hope to see you guys again.
Hope
I'm sure you will.
we definitely will. We plan to stick to this all the way through.
Right. Very
So
good.
so
Hope to
so
see
what
you.
I need you guys to reconnect back with those people out there, and get a little first hand knowledge, on what's taking place, and help us document. collect as much numbers with the community. I want to kind of reconnect with them there because they do have some genuine concern. They seem to be really interested in moving forward, and things I've been trying to get done, they are interested. It's just that certain people were serving as a stumbling block, and now
Yeah.
we're going to knock down doors, and get the job done. All right, guys. So I deeply appreciate that.
Well, the people in the village seemed very, very willing to step up and take charge of their situation if necessary.
But
Because one of the
it
guys,
seemed like somehow they were being blocked or restrained or some way in the other and being
yeah,
discouraged. But we're gonna deal with that.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Tell us a little bit. Give us a little more insight on what you dealt with there
Right.
yesterday.
one of the guys actually wanted to. He and another guy were going to fix the culverts that was crossing the main road, but by themselves. Sorry. Um,
Mhm.
but they were told that, of course, because the road belongs to the Ministry of Works, they can't
Right.
just dig up the road. But they were actually willing to do it
Yeah.
themselves. So they're on board with whatever it is, and they're willing to help. Um, the gentleman we spoke to at the end, I can't remember his name. He's willing to be part of the thing and organize if necessary in the area.
Right.
So thank you. Definitely, I want you guys to go back out there as soon as you can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
we
Gary, yeah, Gary also
Dr.
wants to.
Maraj wanted to add something. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead.
We also planning with this group a major meeting in Bamboo number 2. We're going to be
Yeah,
inviting members
no,
from
I'm aware of that, but I want something done in Shogunas West,
right, but
and
also we might
and also
extend.
behind, I want them to reconnect with that community there because I
Yeah,
think we need to really to get the move on that there.
definitely. But we might extend an invitation to some of the members that they met on the road there, right, to come and join in. So at
Yeah,
least we
but
kill two
I want a
birds.
meeting in Shogunas West. I
No,
want a meeting
we'll definitely
directly
do
in the
that also.
community there.
We'll
You know.
definitely arrange something in the community there, right, with the MP and stuff.
Definitely, definitely. We will speak to our president and she will make the necessary arrangements.
Yeah, so you guys maintain communication with them, and then when Ken get down there, we will address all the issues.
Definitely. Thank you
Be-
so much.
Before you all go, Mr. Parry, are those models are in the background?
Yeah, that's part of my collection.
Cars?
Yes, model cars. I can't
Oh,
get the
well,
right ones, so I buy them in model scale.
well, I have some real ones. So if you need to repair anything, you're most welcome.
Nice. I'd love to when I visit.
So
Okay.
definitely yeah, I want you guys to meet up with Vade also, and so you could do that in the meantime. Vade, we will work on getting you the numbers exchanged, all right? So
Yeah, definitely. Well, Ken can call me and just give me a few days' notice. I'll be delighted to join you all.
right, and also what
Definitely,
I keep in
definitely.
mind, what I want to stage at Vade's farm there is a farmer's. I want to use his farm there as a staging ground for some meetings with the farmers, and we could probably arrange that wherever you guys are, and then Shogunas West too. All right, so we want to get a move on this. We want to make
Um,
sure that this government succeed in getting the job done. But we're here to support and assist, in getting everything done.
yeah.
Thank you
Mr.
very much.
Perry, Mr.
Much.
Perry,
Yes.
we're supposed to have a farmer on here on this live. I think he's the guy that is responsible for all of the farmers' badge and subsidies and stuff like this. I think Marissa was mentioning this to me. We're supposed to give him. We're supposed to have a session alive with him.
Oh, okay. I'm not certain. I wasn't informed. But
So he will
if
be
we
he will
do,
be instrumental with regards to the getting the farming community together.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
yeah, because I think he's a national guy that he handles this on a national scale.
Okay. So we will discuss it with Marissa and go for
Not a
our
problem.
president and go forward
Because
from there.
we want to have him on the show also, right? Because he could give us some key insights with his interaction with the farmers on the ground there.
Great.
Yes,
Great.
I think that is critical, Ken, because there
Yes,
are
very, very
several
critical.
farmers.
We could also do a couple Zoom meetings or conference calls, guys. All right, so let's work on these things and get the people together.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, we
Do
can.
you all have
So,
project? Sorry. Do you all have projects in mind that apart from what the UNC is asking, USC is asking you to do you all have a plan to go forward? I'm sure you have things here in the drawing board kind of thing? Do you all have?
Yes,
What
we
else?
have
What
quite a
next?
few plans,
I imagine.
going forward.
Sure.
Um,
Mhm.
But I would let our president pick that up on our next live.
Good. Oh, next life.
Yes,
No, life, life,
Life.
next life.
live.
Oh no.
Yes, Marissa will.
There are plans in the works, and of course, we'll be looking for assistance. So, yeah, we will bring those forward when it's necessary. Our
Very
president will lead us on that.
Very good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you
Thank you,
guys
guys.
for the tremendous work that you guys did yesterday. That was very professional, and I mean, we were able to view in, right, from
Yeah,
our
but
remote areas here. So that
Yeah.
again, we appreciate that input, and we'll be working as a team down the road. And
Oh,
as Gary
definitely.
mentioned, he wants you guys to have access to any major function or any sort of stuff happening with the government or minister or something having something. He'll get you an official access pass to those events to stream it live.
Okay,
great. We
great.
look forward to that.
Certainly.
Okay, guys,
Wade,
we're signing off.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thanks so much,
yeah,
guys.
Have
Thank you.
a
Thanks
good
so much.
evening.
Nice meeting
Have a good
everybody.
evening. Same to you. Take care. Have a good
Okay.
one. Take care. Stay safe.
Take care. Okay.
Okay.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night.
Good night.
Gary, have a good night.
Hey, Gary. No, Ved. Hello?
Captain Singh, you there?
I'm lost in Trinbago. I'm lost in Trinbago. Carnival Monday and Tuesday. Can't wait till we at Juve. Paint and powder on the roadway. With my friends and we exploring. This soca feels so sweet. My body temperature full of heat. And we tripping down the road.